What's up, guys? So I got to spend some time really working in the Deluxe over the last few days. Last week's video, we did some inspection stuff and checked out some preamp tubes. It turns out I was trying to replace the power tubes, and the set of power tubes I had, the old RCAs, one of them was just dead. It wouldn't balance out. So, we had to nix that for a little bit, and I just relied on these JJs, which I didn't really favor. But I did add my own little cocktail of preamp tubes in here. Got some really nice RCAs and GE 12AX and 12AT7s where they actually belong. And with the rectifier tube, we did go with the GZ34 and Old Mullard. Those are supposed to be the best, and I've always had good results with them. Rectifier tube basically maintains your plate voltage, and it keeps it nice and steady and strong, and you don't blow fuses and pop tubes. So anyways, I wanted to swap the 6v6, and I didn't really have a set, so I relied on the JJs for a little bit. But I do now have a match set of these Tungstol 6v6 tubes. These are very similar. I've used Tungsol for new product 6L6s for a long time because they are very comparable to the GE tubes, and these 6v6s they last and they hold up just the same. On a 6v6 amp like a Deluxe, I will bias it a little harder because I want to get everything out of the amp, so I'll push these pretty well. But all in all, I'm going to swap these in, and I did find another issue with the tremolo system here. So that little tick there. Even with the speed and intensity down, you can still hear it. So that's going to be something we'll try to address now. So we might have to open that up and see if we can fix that. Sometimes there's a couple little things you can do, and I'll talk about that more once I get these in and get them biased. But we'll go with that first. Like I said, these JJs aren't bad. They're a good set of tubes, and they balance out really well. They bias really well. They're just not for me because I can hear them getting soft, and they make the note kind of mushy. So we'll keep them as spares in case something does happen. But I got my Weber bias meter. I really like this because it just makes things simple. You can open it up and you can do it with a voltmeter and figure out the calculations and measure each pin and just things like that you can do. But I just like the simplicity of the bias meter. If you plan on modifying amps and you want to do something like this, it's an invaluable tool to have. So if you haven't had experience with the bias meter, this basically is just a jumper in between the tube and the tube socket of the amp, and it records a calculation and puts it on the LCD screen of the bias meter. And like I said, it makes everything really simple. So that's a good sign. Other than that, I haven't really touched the amp. I just, like I said, I changed some preamp tubes out, the stuff I knew I wanted to hear. I still have the giant Altec speaker in here because it's just been sounding great. And I played it with my 330. I played it with my Les Paul Jr. and my Telecaster yesterday, and it was just a massive amount of tones from each guitar, so I'm very happy. Okay, so this is great so far. This is our tube A position. It's at 26 milliamps. Tube B position is 26.6, so that's great. And you can see 432, 433 on the plate voltage. That's nice and steady. I'm going to let those cook in a little bit with the amp running, and then we'll come back and we'll set bias, and we'll go from there. I should mention that I favored, in my V1 spot, an old RCA 12AX7, and it is microphonic, but I really like what these tubes do in this amp, and it's not causing the amp to squeal or feedback or pick up any unwanted noises at the moment, so we're going to roll with it. Sometimes with old tubes you take a gamble and They can sound really well, but they also can have a little microphonic quality, and maybe sometimes you just got to deal with it or swapping another one. I unfortunately don't have any other really dead quiet 12AX7 RCAs, so we're going to go with that one for a little bit. Alright guys, so we got those tongue saws heated up in there for a little bit. It's been about 40 minutes. And so on the bias meter you can see, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, we can just set that. I like to run these a little hot, right about 28. So tube A is 28, tube B is 27.6. That works for me. That's a balanced set of tubes. Now we're going to slide the chassis out, and I'm going to check out that tick problem. So see if we can either move some wires around, try to alleviate it picking up some noise, or if we have to, there's a little mod you can do, but I'll show you once we get in there. Alright guys, so in that last little snippet you saw that classic vibrato tick that these old Blackface amps do. And one of the tricks you can do is you can try a 12A T7 in the vibrato tube, which I did, and that actually did not help the situation. And then I jumped a capacitor from ground on the tremolo oscillator and the 10K resistor. I tried that, and that didn't really do anything. But moving a lot of these wires, as time sets in, they get corroded and the joints get a little weird. So following the vibrato tube, which is V5, I moved a lot of these wires around and basically had them separated so they weren't leaning up against other wires or chafing other wires or even touching the chassis ground. And that seemed to quiet down the amp, you know, the most. I recommend using a chopstick, and don't stick your hands in there because you'll light up like a Christmas tree. So there's my disclaimer, so nobody can sue me. But just moving some stuff around and routine maintenance sometimes can take care of the littlest noises. Sometimes you can get microphonics, you can get hard noises, and it's not necessarily a component. It's just something that needs to be moved around, or a solder joint that needs to be touched up. So we're going to get the amp back together, and I'll run some sounds through it, and you can see how it sounds with different guitars. I'll use a Strat, I'll use a Tele, and I'll use a P90 guitar, but you can check all that out. So the Deluxe, we ended up doing cleaning it all out, cleaning all the jacks, cleaning the sockets, new preamp tubes, new old stock preamp tubes all the way down, a new set of tung saw power tubes, and a Muller rectifier tube. And just basically gave it a once over. Still have the huge Altec speaker in there because it sounds really great right now. So that's basically what we did to clean this thing up. And there's a look inside a 1965 Fender Deluxe Reverb. These resistors, these are basically where a lot of your unwanted Fender hiss and crackle comes from over time. So these were changed, but other than that, I mean, these are all stock components, which is really great. You know, really preserves some value to the amp. And it's just a great amp, and we're gonna play it so you guys can hear what it sounds like with a few different guitars. So there you have some quick sounds with the Deluxe. It's running right now, and it's running pretty quiet. Just 3 guitars I would take to a gig that could cover any kind of sound, and I'm really happy with it. You know, it's a 65, so you can call it a pre-CBS amp. It was affordable. I don't have much into it besides just some of my labor and a set of tubes. And yeah, it just goes to show you can find diamonds out there, and you know, need a little lipstick to make them look good. And that's really all I did with this, was just cleaned it up, and now I can have fun and just take it to gigs. No pedal board needed. Just plug in and turn it up. The settings were, volume was on 7, treble was on 6, and the bass was on 5. And reverb was just flavored to taste. You know, if you want to do some of that Albert Collins stuff. And the vibrato is just everything is stock. I didn't touch anything. I didn't try to mod anything. So there it is, 1965 Deluxe. I'm going to leave it the way it is right now, and I think I'm going to leave that Altec speaker in there because it's working pretty good for me. So thanks for hanging out for the last couple of weeks, checking out this new amp, this new acquisition. It's a lot of fun, and I hope to be playing out with it soon. So we'll check in with you guys soon. If you guys have a video suggestion, if there's anything you want to do, maybe look into a Q&A, maybe we can get everybody together and you guys can send questions, because sometimes I miss them on here. So you can send the questions to my Instagram account, my direct messages, and I can just compile a list of questions, and I can, you know, say your name after it so you know it's for you. And yeah, maybe we can do something like that. So let me know if that's something you'd want to do. Leave any comments or suggestions down at the bottom. Likes, dislikes, subscribes, unsubscribe, whatever you want to do. It's all for fun. So I hope you guys have a good one. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Don't be late.